a spiritual run in Santa Monica to organize a conference, LA-wide. And so in summer of 2012, we organized a large conference that out of which emerged El Plan de Los Angeles, which is an ongoing document. And so any feedback we get during the discussions, we're taking with us back to Los Angeles. And this is really a larger network, which Carlos Hagedorn representing Northern California, will tell us a lot of the exciting stuff happening in Northern California. Because I believe Northern California, organizationally, pedagogically, there's way steps ahead of Los Angeles County, even though our manifesto is very ambitious. And so out of our conference, we propose to make a booklet or a digital resource called El Plan de Los Angeles. And this is still in the making. And it is modeled after El Plan de Santa Barbara, which was a document, manifesto, which invigorated and helped create Chicano studies programs throughout the Southwest, especially in California. And so El Plan de Los Angeles is a very ambitious document. It's also a document that's in solidarity, in struggle with the Tucson struggle, because the Tucson people we felt were a tremendous resource. And what they established in Tucson was like quantum leaps ahead of any vision we had of Raza Studies. They had already had it going for 12 years and it was having amazing results. So that in a nutshell is what El Plan de Los Angeles is, a project of the Raza Studies Now movement in Los Angeles, part of the larger Raza Studies. My name is Elias Serna. I'm a PhD student at UC Riverside, focused on Chicano literature, rhetoric, and Chicano studies. And I'm here as a representative, me and Cuerpo, of Raza Studies Now, and also just, the larger movement to forward Raza Studies in high schools. Yeah, so maybe we could go around in a loop, and then I'm going to go back into, I think, the Now We Orlean very briefly, and then we'll keep going.
Elias.
Yes.
You said it was okay to record you, but I want to see if there's anyone who does not want to be recorded.
Or does anyone not want to be recorded? We're okay with that too.
And then Elias can get it out to everyone who signs up. Yeah. Or if you want to,
and we're also going to pass out a sign-in sheet that'll go around, and that's part of the Raza Studies Now. So we want to, make this also kind of like an organizational panel too. Okay, I think it's okay with everyone.
I'm Tim Garcia-Giddens. I'm a student, undergrad student here at UTSA, here in San Antonio, Poli-Sci and Mexican American Studies. What drew me here was the content of the discussion. I took a grad course in race and American development, and I did a case study on Tucson. And I'm in the fight for that's a study right now here.
My name is Jonathan Cortez. I'm a second-year undergrad at the University of Texas at Austin. And what drew me to this panel was I have been following quite strictly the progress of the Raza Studies and that, so I thought this would really interested me a lot. So.
Right on. My name is Sirenio Rodriguez, and I'm a retired faculty member of Sacramento State, but I still teach Chicano studies in Northern California, and I'm an alumni of UC Santa Barbara from 68 to 81, where I got my BA, Master's and PhD, and was a member of UMAS, Mecha, and participated in the creation of Chicano studies at UC Santa Barbara, which was the first department in the country, and also, when the Plan de Santa Barbara was created in 69. So it's kind of full circle, like that.
Yes.
After 40 years.
Ándale.
Aquí estamos todavía.
Eso.
I'm Isela. I'm an undergraduate at McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm from Los Angeles. What drew me to this workshop at McAllister right now, we're trying to implement more Chicano studies at a school in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's very difficult at a predominantly white liberal school. And next week, Jose Gonzalez, Tucson is actually coming to
Oh,
our
right,
campus.
wow.
So finally, we're getting some stuff happening out there.
Awesome.
Which is super exciting. We've screened precious knowledge.
That's cool. We'll go here and then back there.
I'm actually her mom.
Oh,
but-
right.
But I'm a children's social worker in LA County,
Yeah.
Department of Children and Family Services. So I especially wanted to come because I've been wanted to re-energize and because I work with a lot of at-risk kids.
Yeah.
And so I want to see how I can motivate, what I can take back to my colleagues because we just push so much paperwork. So, but back in the days, I went to East LA College and started out with Chicano studies.
Oh,
So it's always been in my heart, and so I want to go back to school.
Awesome.
And she's encouraging me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on.
My name is Jose. I'm a student at UT Austin in curriculum and instruction, and I'm just here to see qué va.
Gracias.
My name is Tony Diaz, I'm also known as
Tony, of course.
And our response was, if you're going to ban our books, we're going to smuggle them back.
Yeah.
And we've been doing underground libraries. We did 6 last year, 6 this year. Before it was because we were so offended by the long distance attack. Actually, our Anita Sonia here too, we had our young crews. We're active now in Texas because Texas started too, so we put them on blast. But we learned from all our brothers and sisters in Arizona as well as all around it. I love it. We got to do a national, a national coalition, and we'll actually be in May 7th. We'll be at Tia Chucha. So Luis Rodriguez is doing the City of Angels Libertad Picantes, and then June 24th we'll be with the Bay Area Libertad Picantes with Naomi Quiñones. So it'd be great if we can all hook up and just make this where if they mess with somebody somewhere,
Yeah.
we all unite.
Yeah. Right on. They get the whole enchilada.
Exactly.
Yeah, right on.
And the different kinds of enchiladas.
Thank you.
Oh, what's going on? Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Oh, just, yeah, and what brought you to this workshop?
And you're okay with being recorded?
Okay, yes. My name is Ryan Partida. I'm a master's student right now at Cal State Northridge. I'm in San Fernando Valley. I'm originally from Phoenix, so we're doing years. My thesis work is on Mexican American Studies program in Tucson, but also that's a banda that I work with.
Thank you. Right on.
My name is Paul Garcia. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. I go to school at New Mexico University. What brought me to this workshop is that in Phoenix, when I was going to high school, there was no ethnic studies. There's nothing at high school. So for me, I'm behind. I'm trying to catch up and learn about my own culture. So I wanted to come and see what's up, how to get involved in school, because I know a lot of kids back home that don't even know nothing about our own culture. So for them to take it out of Tucson where they were at least learning something about it. I think they just tried to pass a bill in New Mexico as well to try to get rid of ethnic studies. So ready for the fight.
Yeah, right on.
Buenas tardes. My name is Christopher Ramirez. I'm a PhD student at the University of New Mexico. And two of the reasons I'm here, I coordinate a Men of Color program at the university to increase access and success for Black, Latino, and Native men. And we do a pipeline program with our middle school and high school students, our boys and young men of color. And a lot of them aren't getting access to any kind of ethnic studies, right, in their classes. And then I also work with, I'm a mentor for our statewide immigrant student-led organization, New Mexico Dreamers in Action. And I really see that it's not just the curriculum and pedagogy, but it's also the organizing opportunities, right, that our young people get when they're learning about their culture, their history, but also about political and popular education tools that ethnic studies teaches them. So I think it's also that opportunity for that. In Albuquerque, we organized, right, just like many communities, we galvanized around the Tucson issue, including, right, the Men of Color program connects with the Workshop Country Library we have in Albuquerque. One of the issues becomes, though, we were talking about raising money and sending books to Tucson, and we stopped and realized none of our high schools have ethnic studies either. So why are we only supporting what's happening in Tucson without looking at our own backyard? And the last piece that Paul was mentioning, we had a legislator who was actually trying to do a pro bill, basically making school districts not able to ban books, right? It was a positive memorial that one of our representatives, and there was one of our very conservative Republican immigrant woman from southern New Mexico came out and said that was actually racist to not let schools ban books. So maybe that could be a good, interesting topic at some point to cover.
What city was that again?
In New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Nora Espinosa.
She's on the Chicano, you'll say Joaquin crap, right?
Yeah, 500 years of Chicana history was racist. You'll say Joaquin was racist. We shouldn't be teaching. But it was interesting because it wasn't a negative bill. It was a positive bill trying to say no school district in New Mexico can ban books, right?
That twisted.
Exactly.
What was her name again?
Nora Espinosa.
And that was the same place you're talking about? Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that.
I'm Rebecca Fowler, and I'm a second-year PhD student at WSU in Washington. But I'm from Tucson, or I had been living in Tucson for the last 5 years before, and had become very activist-oriented. As a matter of fact, I consider myself much more of an activist, kind of an accidental academic. But me and my friends, my partner, we were at these board meetings. I was there the night that the kids took over. It was really, really powerful. I was there, later when they sent in a couple of weeks later, one police for every 5 people who were there. They just had this, show of power. But I teach comparative ethnic studies at WSU, and I've been showing precious knowledge for the last 3 semesters, and my kids really love it. My classes are predominantly white, but I feel like it really helps to just raise the consciousness of inclusiveness about what's going on out there. And so I just want to learn and see what I can take out there to help.
My name is Sonia Rosa Hernandez, and I actually met Elisa Mesa, who was one of the organizers out there in Tucson at last year's Knox, and she kind of enlightened me to a lot of the inner workings of the organizing necessary to fight these kind of political actions against ethnic studies. And then, of course, Shanarse came down to the underground library last year and kind of gave me even more resources in regards to like the inner workings of what you have to do politically. And of course then I hooked up with Tony Diaz, Libro Traficante, and he's been helping us a lot. I'm the president of MAXO at UTSA, the Mexican American Studies student organization out there, and of course with these bills now with Texas, like we're realizing the institutional power that we have as academics to demand those studies at a higher education, and that the core root problem, when I was in Dan Patrick's office and the staffer stated that there was plenty of Latino representation in our K-12 curriculum here in Texas, that has been like the absolute biggest motivation for me to completely make sure that our voices are heard, that that's not true in any way, and so that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Welcome. Well, what a great group of people. And any of the new people, would you mind introducing yourselves and what brought you into the workshop?
My name is Ellen. I was a master's student at UTSA. Got my master's in 2009. I'm currently a labor organizer here in San Antonio. I was in one panel inside of, visit other panels.
Thank you.
My name is Ned Munoz. I'm an undergrad at Texas State University, and this is just a suggestion by Dr. Mejia to come into the workshop.
Jaime Mejia. I teach at Texas State, and I teach Chicano literature. And of course, what's going on in Arizona is really bizarre. I've got 3 of my former students are doing PhDs now at Arizona and Arizona State, and they're also involved with this. I sent them to Arizona, and look what happens. So so I'm just here to learn.
Yeah, my name is Tomas Avila Carrasco. I'm one of the members of Chicano Secret Service as a comedy troupe, and I'm also a Chicano Studies professor at Community College in Santa Barbara, and I just got a PhD in Chicano Studies. So I think this all affects all of us. I think that Elias, he's been doing a lot of work, and in Santa Monica, and I've been doing a lot of work in Oxnard. I'm born and raised in Oxnard, an hour north of LA, and I just think that it's, like kids will say it's on and cracking, right? And it is on and cracking, right? But I just think when you got truth on your side, and this is about our children, right? And this is about democracy, and this is about our existence. So that's why I'm here, because I just think that, this population that we're dealing with is rapidly dying off. And we have to be more aggressive and more, assertive to stop what's going on. And actually, people always think Elias and his friends are crazy in Santa Monica, but in the midst of this, to put ethnic studies in high schools and K through 12, right? And so that's why I'm here.
My name is Diana Moreno Sandoval. I finished with my PhD in education at UCLA in June of 2012. And my work is around computer science education and ancestral knowledge in one of the most segregated fields of education, where 75% of the representation is males, professions in the computing world in the United States. And 25% are females, and of the 25% involved in computing professions, less than 1% represent the cultural heritage of the whole Western Hemisphere. And so for me, Raza Studies now is not just a separate department that should exist on its own, but it should be centered in everything that we learn, in the way that we solve complex problems in our education system, the way that we learn how to look at multiple perspectives in education or in solving problems. And I think that it's crucial, especially as we, there's a lot of sometimes romanticism of the past and of our ancient indigenous culture, but we have to see it as a lived history that happens every single day. And we also have to engage with the way that it works with our digital technology that we all often think of as in the future. And so how do we bring these times together and the space together to really engage in ways, in creative ways that we have to exercise our imagination to solve our complex problems today. And if we don't have that representation in these fields, then we're really in trouble. And so I feel like part of my drawing to Raza Studies now in Los Angeles is addressing this problem from a very holistic perspective. Is how do we bring our minds, our bodies, our hearts, our livers, our spirits, how do we remember how to be within our own family structure? Because we tend to talk about these educational spaces and institutions, and oftentimes, especially as activists, we sometimes escape our families to go into the activism, and we forget that really the work is at home, and that we really need to work there so that we can be full and whole. And of course, as a process, it's never really obtained. And when we enter these other spaces, to fulfill our full human capacity, to be able to engage in these very intricate and complex issues today.
My name is Carlos Hagedorn. I've been to a lot of places. This is my first time in San Antonio, so I'm excited to be here. I'm an instructor at Napa Valley Community College. I teach Latin American studies as well as Chicano studies, Chicano Filipino. I am also a member of a very organic group called the Napa Valley Ethnic Studies Advocates, where we are pushing and implementing a pre-K-12 program in our educational institutions back in the valley. And we're going to support my compañera and compañero and to also share what's happening in the Northern California area as far as ethnic studies and that moving forward.
I'm going to start explaining the Nahuatl. That was I'm going to be as brief as I can because Sochi is going to leave in 20 minutes. No, like 25 minutes. So I'm going to be brief, and then hopefully we'll have some time for discussion. We will. I want to present just 3 images, 3 leitmotifs
and a fire in the fields, in Lakesh, and then I'll end with the Nahuilin. And when we started the Rasa Studies Now movement, it was very ambitious. It came out of a conversation with the Tucson teachers. And, you know, my favorite thing is, I always say, you know, when the seagull meets the eagle, because I'm from Santa Monica, we have a lot of seagulls. And we go to Tucson and there's eagles. And when we get there, you know, secret Chicano Secret Service code, you know, the seagulls landed, the seagulls landed, or seagulls over Eagle Mountain, seagulls over Eagle Mountain. And they told us, you know what, Elias? We have very similar demographics. We have very similar problems. We have very similar conflicts with liberals and getting in the way, not helping, you know, being two-faced. And you guys don't have as many evil Republicans, but we're ruled by evil Republicans. And they said, you know what, Tucson, yeah, we're at that. We would say, man, you guys are at the center of the storm. You're in the eye of the storm. And they said, yeah, but you know what? Tucson's only, I don't know if someone can help me out with the numbers. It's only 300, you know, or 32,000 people, or not, it's not 32,000, it's like more like, you know, 300,000 people. LA is 7 million.
Actually, it's close to 1 million people.
Close to 1 million. But yeah, he said something like that, you know, like 800,000 people. LA is 7 million people. If a fire started out there, that would really help us. And so we took that to heart. We said, you know what, we want to start a fire in Los Angeles. So the Plan de Los Angeles really has a very ambitious vision. And even though we're not there yet, we're hoping to pass out matches to all of you guys. And you guys already have matches and fireworks in your own backyards and in your own inventory. And I'm honored to have Tony here in the Libro Traficante. I totally was very happy with the performance and the agitation, artistic agitation around the Libros Traficantes. So the Plan de Los Angeles really has a vision of starting a fire in the fields, as in the conclusion of Shri Muraga's beautiful play, Heroes and Saints. In Lakesh, referred to in the Plan de Los Angeles, tú eres mi otro yo. I think that's a beautiful sign of one of the tenets of Chicano studies, looking to our ancestral knowledge. And then I like the beauty of the footprints, the etymology of In Lakesh, coming from the Mayans, thank you, from the Teatro Campesino. That was very central to In Lakesh. To traveling to Los Angeles and the Mujeres de Maíz, whose, you know, artistic Chicana, mujer of color activism was really about tú eres mi otro yo. And finally, the centrality of In Lakesh in Tucson. And then with that, can I jump to the Nahuilin? And the Nahuilin, to me, is the last thing. I just love the Nahuilin. I draw my notes. And in all my notes, I do this thing. The 4 quadrants. Because and then I draw in those. And in those 4 quadrants, and that comes from and I want to toot my horn and also, but more importantly, point out a resource. One of my articles, my first academic article, was accepted in the this spring's Urban Review, a journal of education, a whole edition dedicated to banned books and ethnic studies. My article titled "Tempest, Arizona: Criminal Epistemologies and the Rhetorical Possibilities of Rasa Studies," looked at the spiritual runs, looked at the journalism as rhetoric, and then finally looked at the Chicano literature course. And Curtis Acosta's beautiful work in the Chicano literature course, around the novel by Shakespeare, The Tempest. No one knows Shakespeare was Chicano. He lived in Ovario, East London, and or Lower London Heights, Boyle Heights. The Nahuilin, a gem of a concept brought back by the Rasa Studies teachers and ancestral apparatus put back into motion. Ancient Chicano technology reactivated. And so the left is the Scanipoca, the smoking mirror. And the Nahuilin, also called the Chicano paradigm by the Aztec teachers developed in conjunction with Tupac, a Chicano indigenous elder from Phoenix, devised a model for education, for learning, a pedagogical model. And I thought this was beautiful. And it just goes also to show how much there is to learn. Tucson is rich with learning possibilities, and it's taught me so much. And I just want to pull out the Chicano paradigm. And so Tezcatlipoca, and this represents a process, a circular process of where educators and the students will travel. And so the first top quadrant, Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, you know, and a mirror, an obsidian mirror has the smoking edges, and it represents memory, because memory is not exact, it is ambiguous around the edges. And it represents for the Raza Studies teachers, self-reflection. Such an important initial step in any educational process. In the second quadrant, Quetzalcoatl. I love Quetzalcoatl. I just love the image and history and the Toltec king who, reincarnated himself in Chichen Itza. But representing precious knowledge, alluded to in the title of the film, Precious Knowledge, about the Raza Studies struggle. And precious knowledge representing the curriculum. To me, it's the books, the important books, the poetry, the art, the film, the curriculum. And the Tucson teachers corrected me. They go, Elias, but it's also the students themselves. They need to see themselves